Hi everyone, this is Amazingbull69 with Take the Red Pill. So far we've covered the whole introduction portion of it, where they presented their case. And now of course we are in the section where the audience had questions and they answered them. We already went through one and now we're about to go through another one. Actually we went through two of them already. And so like I said, now we're getting ready to go through the third one. And like I said, in total questions there were 10 of them, and so hopefully you will find them somewhat entertaining. I did. There were some of the things that were said by Lamont Mapp that just were out of this world, just really crazy and wild. But I guess, depending if you're looking at things from a logical standpoint or from a theistic standpoint, you may or may not find it entertaining and or ludicrous. However, without further ado, here is the next one.
Even though I'm a believer, Jason gets his turn, Lamont gets his turn. That's it. Alright, this next question will start off with Lamont. Lamont, how does Christian theism offer a full and adequate explanation of the origin of the universe?
Wow, so how does Christianity provide a full and adequate explanation for the origin of the universe? I don't see that is possible, because theism or Christianity is a belief, not an explanation of things. However, his answer ought to be interesting.
Full and adequate explanation for the origin of the universe. Well, we know that the universe began, and I hate that I have 2 minutes here, but we know that the universe began to exist. That's a scientific fact. There was at 1.0 space-time, so the only thing we know of, I know that Jason says that we have to be humble and say that we don't know, but if I walked into my house and there were things missing or things messed up, I wouldn't be humble and say I don't know, I would investigate. So, being that the universe came into existence from zero space-time, we know because of that whatever brought the universe into existence has to be beyond space and time.
Yeah, I kind of figured he was kind of leading up to that so far. No, that is not true. That is not the case. Just because you do not know something, you don't know why the universe or how it started, that doesn't mean that you have to assign something to it. I mean, we know that the universe started. So you cannot say that precisely there was something that made it start that is beyond space and time. Because the bottom line is, you don't know how it started and you don't know what made it start. So that's an argument of ignorance right there. Something that we've seen time and time over again from this individual, Lamont Mapp.
We know 2 things that can exist beyond space and time. One is numbers. They don't need space or time to exist, but numbers are also not causal. They can't bring anything into existence. If I say 2 million, that won't put $2 million in my bank account, right? The other thing we know of that can exist outside of space and time is mind.
Okay, so he's making a ridiculous assertion here. He said the only other thing we know that can exist out of space and time is mind. The funny thing about it, if you look, he pointed to his head and he said mind. Here's the thing. Let me give you the definition. Well, first of all, let me say this. Your mind is encapsulated in your brain. Your brain is the vehicle, is the piece that holds it. And then your mind is in it. No different than like a car and an engine. You got the engine that makes a car go, but it's inside of a car. Okay? So let me give the definition of a mind. The element, part, substance, or process that reasons, thinks, feels, wills, perceives, judges, etc. Okay, that's a textbook definition. In psychology, in psychological terms, in psychology, is the totality of consciousness and unconscious mental processes and activities. Now, here's the thing. As for space, yeah, it's within the space of your head, your brain. Okay. Now, as for outside of time, false again, because here's the thing. Once you die, your brain ceases to exist. You no longer have brain activity. Therefore, because the mind, as I described, is the element, part, substance, or processes that reasons, thinks, feels, wills, perceive. You cannot do that when you're dead. You cannot think, you cannot reason, you cannot feel anything when you're dead. You die. That's it. And you don't have any conscious or unconscious mental processes and activities. There's no electrical brain activity. Therefore, your mind does not function. So to say that it is out of time, it can function out of time, absurd. Patently absurd, totally false. Sorry.
My mind doesn't consist of any matter. It's housed by my brain, but there's no matter, there's no space, there's no time with my mind. So an unembodied intelligence is causal. Intelligence is what caused this debate today. So the only thing outside of space and time which we can grasp with our mind to bring about the universe is God. Ah,
I knew he was going somewhere with that. So the only thing that can possibly make it all happen is God. Pretty much what he ended up using, if nobody really knows what it is the Kalam cosmological argument. And here's the thing, it's just an argument, that's it. Now, it got its name properly, and when I say argument, of course, doesn't mean a verbal fight. I'm talking about a real argument in which somebody presents their idea or premise, and then come to a conclusion based upon those premises or ideas. That's what an argument is. You know, no different than, like, let's say, going to court. You know, that's what the judge says. Okay, attorney, please present your arguments. So, false. That's pretty much God of the gaps theory. He doesn't know. He feels that it has to be a reason, and of course he doesn't have the reason. He doesn't have the information, the knowledge, and so he has to attribute it to God. That type of God of the gaps theory, that is a form of argument of ignorance. You don't know, so you got to put God into place. Total fallacy.
You can call it the flying spaghetti monster. You can call it the flying teapot, which Richard Dawkins and those guys say. But if you use those, then you have to say that spaghetti is invisible, all-powerful, all-knowing, all-loving, compassionate. I'm down with that spaghetti.
Actually, I can think of two other adjectives that actually fit and describe much better. Not real and unsubstantiated.
That was funny, you just threw me completely off. Alright. Now, I'm glad you brought up the Kalam or the beginning of the universe thing again. And I want you to notice when he says that we know this, or we don't know this, or when he's trying to explain about how we can define these things, he's appealing to our experience. He's appealing to what we know and don't know, which is in the context of our experience here in the universe.
Jason is right. When Lamont was talking like that, he is appealing to what we do and what we do not know, based upon our experience and based upon our knowledge of things. However, in Lamont's case, it's more so based upon what he does not know. And of course he has to fill things in with the argument of ignorance / God of the gaps.
When we talk about the beginning and about the beginning of the universe, we're talking about something beyond that. We're talking about something beyond space and time. We're not talking, so when he's saying, well, we know this and we know that and we don't know that, the thing is that we're talking about something beyond that. And that's why he can't appeal to this. To say that God is an uncaused cause. Christians will say, well, we can't have an uncaused cause. Except, wait, special pleading, I want to have an exception to that. I'm going to put my God in that little slot. Okay? We can't do that. We can't put our exceptions. We can't say, well, everything has to apply by this standard. This is what we know, this is what we don't know. Except for my God, He gets to do all these other things. Okay? So that's why I'm saying we have to be humble and we have to be honest. Now, from a scientific perspective, we do know that the Planck minimum energy was in a quantum state of uncertainty. There is no reason that we cannot compress energy. So hypothesizing that of some type of existence, another dimension of existence, is not unscientific. Also, to assume nothing is the default of reality is ignorant. Why not something be the default? Why assume that there's nothing? Because by definition, nothing means nothing. Nothing is a placeholder. There is no such thing as nothing. There is no such thing in the ex nihilo sense. Okay? So the quantum science is this is.
Jason mentioned quantum physics. Let me just share with you how confused science is right now regarding quantum physics.
Oh, this is going to be interesting. He's already trying to put himself in good light and put science out of context by saying how confused science is about quantum physics. Wow. Who's the one who's confused? He has no science degree. So he's not qualified to say how science is confused about things. It's quite the opposite way.
They invented something called quantum gravity. So the word quantum, because Jason doesn't really define terms, so the word quantum just means very, very small, elementary particle, very tiny. And gravity means something so big that it can actually bend space, it can actually pull you towards it.
Okay, so I see this is something I see a lot, not just from this guy Lamont Map, but even from a lot of other theists. They will kind of twist some meanings around to make it fit what is it that they want it to mean. So that way it'll give more credibility to what is it that they're saying. So let me explain. He was pretty much right about quantum. It does mean the smallest quantity. Now, for gravity, he said gravity, and I'm going to quote this. He said gravity means something so big that it can actually bend space. And then he says, pull towards you. Wrong. Gravity is the force of attraction by which terrestrial bodies tend to fall towards the center of the earth or other objects. Gravity is a force. Wow, even kids in elementary school know that gravity is a force. It's a force that pulls things towards itself. You know, of course, when we talk about gravity on Earth, of course, meaning pulling towards the Earth. But gravity is not, as he said, let's see, gravity means something so big. Gravity had nothing to do with size. And so, there's a correlation, of course, with size, because generally you got gravity of the Earth, gravity of sun, moon, whatever the case is. But it doesn't mean that it has to be something so big. And so quantum gravity, quantum the smallest quantity, then gravity the force. The study of quantum gravity is a study of you look at the most basic, the smallest part of gravity, how it works, and it makes sense to actually study it that way. Because if you can understand the smallest part, now you can start expanding to the bigger parts. I mean, it's no different than if I turn around and tell you, because I was a mechanic for a long time, so if I tell you that how the force of the engine ends up going to the torque converter, in which it pushes fluid into the transmission, and that's how the car propels itself, more than likely the average person is not going to understand what is it I'm saying. So, in order to understand it, I gotta break everything to subsections first. Let you know all the different components, not components, but the different systems in an engine, and then tell you about the different systems in a transmission, and then show you how they're linked together to make the car move forward. That will be something that will make a little bit more sense versus if I just turn around and give you the whole big picture all at once. And so quantum gravity is no different. You want to understand the small picture before you get to the big picture, which if somebody throws the big picture at you first, you will not understand. It's just logic. Yet he's turning around and trying to twist it for his benefit to disprove science. If he's trying to disprove science, then why is he on a microphone that science created? Why does he use a cell phone that science created? He's trying to disprove or say how confused science is, yet everything he does and uses probably came from some type of scientific method. Pretty interesting and ironic, isn't it?
Quantum gravity is a
30-second warning.
Quantum gravity is a placeholder. Okay, they can't understand the singularity, so they say quantum gravity. That means small, big. It's like big midget. They don't understand what began the universe. They don't understand black holes. So they assign quantum gravity as a bookmark until someone can redo Einstein's math because they failed it. So it's not an argument. I'm sorry.
Wow, so he said quantum gravity is a placeholder. No. I will tell you what is a placeholder, and that's God. I mean, they do not understand certain things, so they put God in the place of what is it that they don't understand. Typical God of the gaps. Let me give you a simple example. Way back when, and I've mentioned this before, way back when they did not understand what lightning is. And so they came up with their theories of, or excuse me, hypothesis of, well, the lightning had to be God being upset, and they attributed it all to God. Guess what? We have now learned since what lightning is. And so the God of the gaps theories, that place for God being the placeholder, that's been going on for years and years and years. So many things that were not understood way back when, they attributed to the supernatural and or to God. No different than when people had diseases way back when. What happened? What did they say? Oh, you did something wrong and God is punishing you for it. When there were natural causes for diseases or coughs or colds that they did not have remedies for, people died. And again, like I said, they attributed to God's wrath on somebody. Well, guess what? We now have cold medicine. We now have vaccines for polio and things of that nature that were, before not curable. And so the epic fail on their argument is their God of the gaps argument. Epic fail is God, not science. Anyway, we are going to get to more videos that that were based upon the questions, and it will get more interesting as time goes on. Hopefully you're excited to see them, because I am excited to give my responses to them. So until then, this is Megzable 69 with Take the Red Pill.